Jeffrey Epstein. What do you think about him? And what do you think he was intelligence?
I'm confident he was intelligence. Yeah.
This is a thing that I've had debates with people too, is that I've had people tell me that blackmail is not a real thing. Blackmail is useless. That there's no reason that this guy would be bringing scientists and politicians to some island to get some sort of dirt on them for some sort of, to hold blackmail over their head for favors.
I agree with that.
You do.
Blackmail is effective in the very short term, right? If you need somebody to give you something and you have information that you can really hold over his head, he might end up confessing to his own side. He might end up killing himself, which happens with some frequency. So it's only going to work for you for a little bit. I don't think that was necessarily the case with Jeffrey Epstein. I'm convinced that Jeffrey Epstein was working for Mossad. And I'm convinced that he was working for Mossad for a long time. He fit the profile, I'll put it that way, of what we would call an access agent.
An access agent.
Yeah. So Jeffrey Epstein's not going to give you classified information because he doesn't have access to classified information. That's not why he would have been working for Mossad. Let's say Mossad wants access to a former president of the United States, a member of the British royal family, the greatest minds on Wall Street, who are willing to talk when their guard is down and their pants are off about the people that they know and the people that they're talking to. You think Bill Clinton didn't talk to Barack Obama? Of course he did.
Right.
Presidents and former presidents talk all the time to get advice from one another. All the time. So you're going to get somebody who's Jewish, who loves money, and who loves Israel, and you're going to get him to invite all these people down to his private island, put them in compromising positions, and just get them talking. And then you report back everything. Everything. Because it's not necessarily the guy as much as it is the people that the guy has access to. I'll give you another example. When I was in training, one of our instructors said that the best recruitment he ever had in his life was a copy machine repairman. He said, now, does the copy machine repairman have any access to classified information? Of course not. But what happens when the copy machine breaks in the prime minister's office? They got to have it fixed. So you recruit this guy, just wait till it breaks or needs service. And then when he goes to repair it or to service it, he puts in a device that every time somebody makes a copy, it sends another copy back to Langley. And so you see literally everything that the prime minister is seeing. That's access. The repairman's not, you're not going to win a medal because you recruited a repairman. You're going to win the medal because you got the repairman to compromise the prime minister.
The Epstein files is kind of like gaslighting, because what even is, we don't care about that, like the file. What are the files? We want the hard drive.
Right. Well, to paraphrase Bill Clinton, it depends on what the definition of a file is, you know?
Right, exactly. Like, what is it? Like this, is this some concocted file somebody in some back office at Langley, put together with a couple of names in the black book?
Right.
Because the black book's been available for how many years now? Like, we can see all the addresses in there.
The black book went to auction recently.
Oh, really?
There's an auction house on Maryland's Eastern Shore called Alexander Auctions. They specialize mostly in World War II and even then mostly Nazi stuff. Mm-hmm. But they also deal in Americana, like, paintings by Charles Manson, for example. Stuff like that. Yeah, it's cool stuff. They tried to auction the black book recently. The estimate was $75,000 to $100,000, and it didn't sell. So the book is out there. Why then does the FBI not have a copy and then release the copy? If we know who was in the black book, why haven't they told us? To me, that would be part of a file. It would be part of a record. What you're talking about is even more important. Virginia Giuffre, who recently committed suicide, but who very bravely testified against Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell.
Are we talking about the lady who got hit by the truck?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, she killed herself a couple of weeks after that. She testified that there was a room at Epstein's mansion in the Caribbean where from the floor to the ceiling it was just monitors.
Right.
And there were guys in there monitoring the monitors. Every room in the house and every bathroom in the house was wired for video. So where are the videos? Why have we not seen anything? Why have we heard nothing about Prince Andrew or about Bill Gates or Bill Clinton or Alan Dershowitz or any of the other, A-list people who we know for a fact were at that house?
Yeah.
This man by the name of Jimmy Savile is?
Jimmy Savile was Savile, yeah. Long time celebrity, big time celebrity, very popular in Britain, and he is also officially in Britain the most prolific sex abuser in British history. He had hundreds of victims. He did both child sex abuse and Satanist ritual abuse. His core beliefs were Satanism. Satanists often disguise themselves under other religious groups or atheism, but their core belief, their real belief system, if they are Satanists, will be Satanism, because Satanism demands 100% commitment. And they're only adopting that appearance as a disguise, as a concealment. So Jimmy Savile pretended to be Roman Catholic, but all the rapes he committed over decades, in fact, the last known alleged rape that he committed was when he was 82 years old. And Satanism and SRA of Jimmy Savile was exposed by one courageous newspaper in the UK known as the Sunday Express, and they had survivors' testimonies of having been ritually abused as children by Jimmy Savile. And then another SRA survivor of Jimmy Savile saw that first article, came forward and shared her testimony, and that made the story for the second article on Jimmy Savile's Satanism and SRA. And then another person who had quietly documented Jimmy Savile's visit to his town in northern England for years to attend satanic rituals, produced his research to the Sunday Express, and they did a third article on Jimmy Savile's Satanism based on that.
I was the guy that published Epstein's Black Book, yes. I had the Franklin scandal got published in 2009, 2010, and I'd spent 7 years on it. And it was dark. I mean, I went as deep into a network as someone can go. I interviewed like one of the blackmail photographers. And then Henry, who was interacting with various CIA assets. Like that network, like the Epstein network, it's intelligence. I mean, it's used to compromise people. So I went very, very deep into that network. And what I found was unbelievably horrific. So that book took a lot out of me, and we just couldn't get people to buy it. People thought, the government would never be part of a network. This is before Epstein. And Epstein at this point was a lone there wasn't a network. He wasn't pandering. That's what the newspaper said he was basically a lone pet. And I went down there in 2012. I started looking into it in 2011. Then I went down there in 2012. Started knocking on doors and doing my thing. And I ended up with his Black Book. And then I brought it back to New York City because I'd been pitching Epstein, and magazines really didn't want to deal with it at all. And I figured, well, once I get the Black Book, they're going to want to do something with it. And So I was pitching the Black Book, and no one wanted to touch it. Finally, Gawker published it in 2015, and then the floodgates opened on the Black Book. I mean, tons of ink have been dumped on the Black Book, and I think only 2 publications have given me credit for it. It's kind of funny.
So you were knocking on doors and you got a hold of it. You glossed over that pretty fast. Whose doors were you knocking on, and where specifically did you get the book?
I mean, there are sources that I can't give out, but I was talking to anybody that I thought was affiliated with Epstein. And
you're talking about like big shots, like high level Wall Street people. You're talking about
I'm talking more about attorneys that were affiliated with it. And then when I got the Black Book, the Black Book has like about 150 victims. Well, the Epstein network is very similar to the network I wrote about in the Franklin scandal.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, Epstein, now it's really tough to know. I've got a picture. Epstein went to Interlochen. It's an arts camp in northern Michigan one summer. And I've got the pictures of Epstein at that. And you can check it out on my blog.
Right.
But there's a little, I believe that there's a little William Barr at Interlochen at the same time. William Barr was
Bill Barr's dad?
Bill
Barr. Okay, yeah.
Bill Barr's dad hired Epstein.
At Drexel. Or not Drexel, I'm sorry, the Dalton School, right?
Yes. 7 years later, and Epstein was completely unqualified. He was a college dropout.
Right.
There's no way that he should have been hired. Dalton is the preeminent preparatory school in America, or certainly one of them. And there's no way that Jeffrey Epstein should have been hired. But you can take a look at these pictures that I have, and you can compare them to Bill Barr and Bill Barr now.
Is this?
There
what
he
this?
is. That's it. Right there. There's Epstein right up there.
Oh, this is the art school?
Yes, Interlochen.
Interlochen. Okay. What year was this?
This was in 1967. And
that's Epstein on the right?
That's Epstein standing up.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, now I believe that this is Bill Barr. What's bizarre, though, is that this is a yearbook that doesn't have any names. And Interlochen has denied that Bill Barr attended their camp. They can't deny that Jeffrey Epstein attended it because he built a lodge. He gave them $500,000 to build the Jeffrey Epstein lodge.
Zoom in on him, on Epstein standing there, Steve. Wow, I've never seen this photo. Oh, nope, you had it there for a second. And then you zoomed out. There you go. Yeah, can you zoom in more on that?
That's the extent.
That's as far as you can go.
Yeah.
There's a little Jeffrey Epstein.
Wow, man. That's
now,
wild.
but check it out. Now, if you go to my website, you'll see that I've got a picture of little William Barr and big William Barr. It's right below these pictures.
Oh, right
there we go. Now check it out. Are these
Look
not?
at that.
Are these not the
Uncanny.
same guys?
Wow, dude. So Bill Barr, William Barr's dad, was the head of Dalton School.
Yeah.
That school was really fishy.
Well, it was run after Bill Barr, or Donald Barr, Bill Barr's dad.
Donald Barr's his name, yeah. And he was a weirdo. Like, he did a lot of weird shit, right?
Well, he was weird, but then the next headmaster started girls there, too.
Didn't Bill Barr's dad, who ran that school, didn't he write some, like, crazy sci-fi novels about, like, what did he write? Like, some crazy...
He wrote a sci-fi novel about intergalactic sex trafficking.
Yes, intergalactic sex trafficking. There's the title of the podcast.
And he's got a very graphic description of a 15-year-old girl there.
But why all the scientists and the physicists?
Oh, yeah. The Chinese are really, really focused on hard sciences because those are the guys that are working on the nuclear program. Those are the guys that have access to DARPA scientists. They're working on things like microwave weapons. They're working on things like Havana syndrome, maybe, whatever that turns out to be. They're working on things like anti-missile laser systems that are going to be the next generation of what we deploy to the battlefield. Yeah.
I'm talking about like Jeffrey Epstein having those scientific conventions on his island.
Oh, the same thing. The same thing. Listen, that whole island had to be wired for sound, and probably sound and video. And everything going back to the Mossad so that they can see the Mossad has never, the Israeli government has never trusted that we give them the best of our technology. I mean, I always assumed that we did, but they are convinced that we don't. So if they can steal it and then compare it to what it is that we're giving, then they'll know. Well, you steal it by gathering the information from the scientists who are working on the systems. And at the very least, even if this, let's say this scientist goes to an Epstein convention and he doesn't really say anything, there are going to be 10 Mossad agents attending that convention too, pretending to be scientists. And that's where you make the introduction and you start that spot, assess, develop, recruit cycle.
Wow.
Now, on Epstein, man, I've looked at this from every angle. I did a podcast about this one time. And I think I was able to come to this conclusion only because I've been in prison myself. Most prison guards have their heads up their asses. Sorry, hate to say it, but
Right.
these guys are flunkies from the military,
Right.
or flunkies from the local police academy, or they were too stupid to get into the police academy in the first place. Right? Number 2, the cameras never work. Right? Cameras in prisons break and nobody ever fixes them. So that's how people get away with things in prison. I think what happened was Jeffrey Epstein was suicidal. He clearly told people around him that he was suicidal. He should have been in solitary confinement. And when you're suicidal, what they do is they strip you naked and they give you a paper smock to put over you, right? So you can't use it to tie a knot and hang yourself. They never did that with him. One of the cops was working a double shift. You're not allowed to work a double shift, right? You get too tired. And so they had him on a double shift anyway. They were supposed to go by Jeffrey Epstein's cell every 15 minutes, and he didn't. He was at least 30 minutes because he was probably sleeping in the guard booth. So I think that rather than, Jeffrey Epstein being murdered, I think he did commit suicide or was allowed to commit suicide, in part because of the incompetent boobery of the Bureau of Prisons, and in part because pretty much everybody in that case wanted him to commit suicide.
It's like the JFK conspiracy, where everybody knows, if you poll every American in this country who's paying, even a little bit of attention, they all know that this was some sort of conspiracy coup.
Right.
Oswald wasn't the only shooter, but the government just says, shut up, talk all you want, make your podcasts and your documentaries, but nothing, you're never going to find out the truth. It's almost the same thing here, where they're just holding it back, and they know everybody knows.
Right.
Everybody knows Jeffrey Epstein was working on the behalf of Israel intelligence. They know, I mean, just the fact that Ehud Barak was at his apartment and working in his office all the time, was his handler.
Yeah.
All the stuff with, even with Robert Maxwell and Ghislaine Maxwell.
Right.
It's so obvious in plain sight. My question is, why can't Trump admit that?
I don't know. I was on another podcast yesterday, and Patrick.
PBD.
Yeah, and he said that this is the first real scandal in this second Trump administration. He said that the White House completely misread public opinion on this issue. That people not just believed him when he said he was going to release everything, they expected that it would all be released so that we could get to the bottom of this for once. And then you've got, you saw that press conference with Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. I felt pain for them. You could see it in their faces. Neither one of them wanted to say he killed himself and we didn't find anything.
And can you say where you got the black book?
It really wouldn't. No, I can't.
Okay,
It's
fair enough.
as much as I'd like to. The thing about
I gotta ask.
Well, I'm very good at getting documents that no one else has gotten. Like when I wrote the Franklin scandal, I got there was a grand jury, and all that stuff was sealed.
Okay.
And I got all the testimony and all the exhibits from the grand jury. I'm one of those guys that people kind of trust. I mean, I think I look trustworthy. I mean,
Yeah, totally.
Anyway,
Yeah.
and I'm very trustworthy. But the reason why people give me stuff is because I don't tell them where I got it. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You got to maintain that credibility.
But anyway, so I started calling these victims, and they started talking about being flown around. And I realized this guy wasn't a lone pet. He was at the helm of a pet network. He was flying these young girls to very powerful guys. And that's the story that I came back with in New York City. That's the story that I pitched. And people were just frightened of it. And I'd had one go around with, I was pitching the Franklin scandal, which is basically almost identical to Epstein. The Franklin scandal is about Republicans, little boys, and Epstein is, for the most part, Democrats, little girls. So I was pitching the Franklin scandal, and this is at a point I had a lot of connections in the mainstream media, and I could pitch it to just about, I could pitch it to a lot of different editors. So I was pitching the Franklin scandal to these editors, and I would look into their eyes, and I could see the wheels turning. They were up against cognitive dissonance, and basically what was going on in their minds was, this is a really horrible story. All these kids getting abused and it covered up. We're going to need to help Nick Bryant. Or I can just write Nick Bryant off as crazy right now, and then I can have a nice dinner with my family.
Not worry about losing my job.
Yeah. So every editor, and I had a lot of connections in, I live in New York City. I've lived there for 30 years. So I had a lot of connections in the media, and I was really surprised. You know, I knew that most of them would be spineless,
Right.
but there was only one guy that helped me, that had juice in publishing. There was only one guy.
Who's that?
His name was Malachi McCourt. His brother had written Angela's Ashes, and Malachi had published 5 or 6 books. And he was very popular. He was a very popular writer, and just he was a great wit. And he tried to help me with it, and he couldn't get any traction. So